Hello, and welcome to our first cooking video. How to make the perfect omelet scramble. The first thing that we're going to do is assemble the ingredients that you want to put in your omelet. In this case, I'm going to bring you over to the other side of the room so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to use, for this particular omelet, onion, fresh broccoli, ham, bacon, and cheese. Don't forget that you're going to need 3 eggs. So the first step, of course, I always begin with the onion. I would take a little olive oil, or at least a little olive oil spray, and put it in your pan. What I want to show you here is that this is a good pan for an omelet. It has a professional non-stick surface. You can also use one of those electric fry pans with the non-stick surface. Now you're going to put your burner on enough to make heat, but not to burn your onions. So not too high. Make the heat not too high. And I'm going to roll the oil around a little bit in the pan so that it is ready to receive the onion. Now, chopping the onion is relatively straightforward. I'm sure you know how to do that. But we're going to take the ends off. Then we're going to peel the first layer off with the skin. The other thing besides a good fry pan that I would invest in is a good paring knife. This is what you call the paring knife. See how it has a relatively smooth edge? Smooth but sharp. Invest in a good paring knife. That would cost you $4 or $5. You're going to chop the onion. How small you chop it is up to you. But for these omelets, I like a little bit of bulk. So I'm going to make slices in the onion, and then I'm going to cut those slices in half so that you get pieces that are kind of like this. And then they'll break apart because there's layers. They'll break apart on their own. So I put in 1/2 of an onion, probably about 5 slices, and then cut them. So I'm not really dicing them, but they're making small chunks. And then I'm going to put the onion in the pan. Now, why do I always start with the onion? Always begin with the onion, and you're going to cook that onion until the pieces start to get soft, or what they say, translucent. So the onion, when you first cut it, is a very bright white, and as it cooks, it gets to be a little bit clearer. That's where you want to be with the onion. But why start with the onion? Because the onion makes a good base flavor for your omelet. So you've got onion sauteing in the olive oil, makes a great base flavor. For whatever you're cooking, always start with the onion. Now, while the onion is cooking, I'm going to take this opportunity to prepare the other ingredients. So for example, in this one, I'm going to put broccoli. Other really good suggestions are spinach. I like spinach usually in my omelet. And now the broccoli stems, a lot of people don't want to cook the broccoli stems because they're tough. But what I do is I slice them down really thin and they cook very nicely. And they get soft. You don't want big pieces of broccoli stem because if you do, you don't have enough cooking time to make them tender. So I just cut these up pretty small because broccoli is, broccoli as opposed to spinach, is a very strong flavor. So if you have too much broccoli in your omelet or too big pieces, the flavor of the broccoli will overwhelm the omelet. So you don't want too much and you don't want the pieces to be too big. Just remember those two things. So my onions are cooking over here and I'm again preparing the rest of the ingredients for the omelet. And I'm going to push that into a little pile, and you'll see why in a moment. So notice how I've made this little pile of broccoli. So now in this omelet, I'm going to put ham. I got this ham today. You can have pretty much any kind of ham, but I got this uncured honey ham, which also makes a nice sandwich. So after you've done your omelet, you've used the ham, you still have nice pieces of ham for your sandwich. I'm going to cut this up also really small pieces, because again, you don't want too much and you don't want the pieces too big because you don't want to overwhelm your omelet with any one particular flavor. You want your flavors to blend. So notice how I made that pile of broccoli, and now I've made a pile of ham that is close to the same size. And that's the key here, is I'm going to make piles of the ingredients that I want to use that are kind of close to the same size so that my flavors are blending. The third ingredient that I'm going to use is the bacon. Now, it's a lot cheaper to buy the regular bacon and to cook it up yourself and then put it in the fridge. But for the ease of this weekend and this demonstration, I'm just going to use this pre-cooked bacon. And while I hear my onions sizzling, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stir them around in the pan so that they break up and evenly cook. So I'm going to cut up this bacon. Again, very small pieces. Now, for meats, I've used pretty much either bacon or ham are always good. Sausage works pretty well, of all kinds, kielbasa, chorizo, Italian sausage, turkey sausage, breakfast sausage, and also recently, as you know, we used that pre-sliced chicken. That came out pretty good too. So again, cutting up the bacon, small pieces, make a pile that's about the same size. Again, bacon is one of those things. Again, bacon is one of those items that has a pretty strong flavor. So you don't want to put too much. You want to be conscious of the balance of the ingredients so that you get a nice blend. So I'm just going to clean up as I go. A good cook in the kitchen always cleans up as they go. Now my onions are starting to get soft. There they are, starting to get soft. And notice, as they get soft, the color starts to become more translucent. Now because I have broccoli in this one, spinach wouldn't be the same. Spinach you would just be able to put in later. But because I have broccoli and broccoli needs to cook a little bit more, I'm going to put the broccoli in now with the onion. And all you're going to do is mix that around a little. Okay, so while that is happening, we're going to go on to our next step, which is to take care of the eggs and get them ready for the pan. So for the omelet, I suggest 3 large-sized eggs. I have made a 4-egg omelet before. So you take the egg, of course you know how to break it, put it in a bowl. And now we're going to beat the eggs. The object is to get them so that the yolk and the white totally mix together. So notice what I'm doing here is I'm holding the bowl on an angle. I've got my fork on an angle, and I'm just pushing it in a round and round direction, kind of like a little beater or a blender would. Round and round and round and round. Now notice what's happening. You can see it on film. It's all becoming one steady stream of yellow. There's no white streaks. If you don't blend your eggs enough, you'll get white streaks in your scrambled eggs or in your omelet. And you don't want that. You want it to be a nice consistency. Also going back to stir my onions and broccoli. Onions are just starting to get a little bit brown. I want to just make sure that they don't burn. Beating the eggs. Now, one thing I am going to say is the more you beat your eggs, the more fluffy your omelet will be. And so that's a personal preference, whatever you like. I don't know what I did with it. in this case, I'm going to take some fat-free half and half, but you can also take milk. You're going to put some in there. Now, this again is to your preference. Some people like a lot of milk and some people don't. But if you could see that on camera, you'll see that when I put the milk in there, it's got to be blended in again with the eggs. Okay, that is weird. All right. All right, so I'm beating it up a lot because I want it to get some air in it and I want it to be fluffy. Now, let's take a look at our onion and garlic. Onion and broccoli mixture. See how the onion is just starting to get brown. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my meats, my bacon and my ham in this case. And let's mix them around. Both ham and bacon here, in this case, are fully cooked already, but I am going to put them in the pan for a couple of minutes to make sure that they get warm and cook a little bit more. So I want to bring you over to the pan so that you can take a look. This is what I mean by the blend of ingredients. You see the onion, you see the broccoli, you see the ham, and you see the bacon. One is really not necessarily overpowering the others. And we're going to let that simmer for a little bit. And again, sticking with our principles of cleaning up as we go, because remember, good kitchen maintenance is about cleaning up as we go. I'm going to wash my knife while I'm waiting and get rid of my eggshell. Another thing that I can do while I'm waiting for my concoction to warm up and cook a little is to wash my cutting board. If you have a cutting board, especially if it's wooden, keeping that clean is of extreme importance because of the potential for bacteria to gather. So you want to always keep your cutting surfaces and your countertops clean. So I'm going to move you back to the other side so that now you can watch the cooking action. All right, so here's usually what I do now for the omelet is I bring all of my ingredients to the center of the pan. Put it this way so that you can see better. Let me see if I can adjust this so that you can get a good view of what's happening. How's that? All right, here is my ingredients now in the center of the pan. Just going to spread it out in a little bit of a circle. All right. And got my egg mixture looking nice and airy and fluffy. So I'm going to pour it over the center of my mixture. Just going to let that fall over by itself for a little bit. I'm hoping that you get a good view of what's happening. Notice how the egg is filling out through the pan. I'm just going to move it around a little bit to make sure that the edges catch and that all the liquid is not stuck in the middle of the pan. Might want to lower your heat a little bit at this point so that the egg does not burn. So it's cooking on the edges, but not burning in the middle. Now, once it seems like it's congealed all over and you don't have the liquid anymore, it's time to season. Now again, you get to season the way that you want, the way that you like it. I'm going to use garlic powder. There's a difference between garlic powder and garlic salt. Garlic powder is ground, dried garlic. Garlic salt is ground, dry garlic with salt. I use garlic powder. And black pepper. And this is where you get to decide how much seasoning you like. Now, I don't particularly go for cheese in my omelet, but I know that Marcus likes cheese in his omelet, and I think that you do too. So this is where we would grab some cheddar or some Swiss or something that you like and sprinkle it around. Now you'll notice that the edges are cooking quite nicely. Because you have a nice non-stick pan, notice how it just slides. It's not sticking to the bottom. And this is where it gets tricky because this is not an omelet pan. An omelet pan is much smaller size, so it's easier to flip. These come out quite big. So that's why most times I make them into an omelet scramble. But if you want to be daring, you can try to fold it at this juncture, or you could just elect to scramble it. In this case, we're going to scramble it because it's easy. Are you ready? So you're just going to fold it over, fold it over, fold it over, break it up, break it up, break it up. I'm going to lower my heat a little again because I feel it's up a little bit too high at this point. Fold it over, break it up. And there you have it, the perfect omelet scramble. I can't wait to hear how your first attempt at the omelet scramble goes. I hope that you let me know, and let me know when you want to move on to the next cooking demo. All right, I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Oh, call me if you have questions. Bye.